All right, welcome back, everybody. With tax revenues declining, the fiscal crisis facing many states is growing, and New Jersey is one of those states. Joining us right now with his plan to get the Garden State back to prosperity, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. This is his first national television interview since his election. And, Governor, thank you very much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. I know you have taken the state by storm. You've come through and gotten down to business very quickly. In fact, I guess you've issued 14 executive orders, an average of one every 2 days. There are plenty of voters who would say this has to be done, this is an emergency. There are others who are saying, wait a second, this is too much too soon. Now, lay out your plan for what you're doing and why.
The only people who say it's too much too soon is the professional political class in Trenton who ran the state into the ground to begin with, and that's the reason I was elected. So I'm not worried about what they're talking about. What I'm worried about is getting our state back in fiscal health, and we are in awful shape, and we have a lot of work to do, and you can't wait for permission. If you're governor, people have elected you to make decisions. I have no hesitation in making them. We're getting ready to go.
You've declared a state of fiscal emergency. What does that mean exactly?
Well, when you have a $2 billion budget deficit in fiscal year 2010, which ends on June 30th, which I had to act last week to close, and a projected $11 billion budget deficit for fiscal year 11 on a $29 billion budget, that fits my qualification of an emergency.
When you were inaugurated, was there a moment where they opened the books for the first time? And if so, did your face turn white? I mean, how much of this has been a real eye-opener for you?
Well, all of it's been a real eye-opener for me. But, you know, I knew how bad off the state was, but we didn't know about the $2 billion fiscal 10 gap. Governor Corzine said he left us with a $500 million surplus. Surprise, surprise. When they opened the books, in fact, they spent so much money at the end as Governor Corzine was leaving. You know, he spent $200 million in extraordinary municipal aid that went out to some of our major cities that they wired out the morning I was being sworn in. So they get it out before I took the oath of office. So a lot of those shenanigans went on, and that's why you have to act aggressively.
Municipal aid, right? In the list of things you're cutting, municipal aid's not on.
Not in the fiscal 10 budget.
Right.
But the money went out the door. So, you know, you can't claw back and go and get that money from the municipality. So what I had to do was look at what unspent balances did we have and what could I freeze. So what I did in fiscal 10 shouldn't be characterized as a cut, it's a freeze. It's freezing programs where they are now, stopping spending in fiscal 10. What I'll be doing for fiscal 11 will be actual programmatic cuts.
That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's why they call them hard choices, Carl. Yeah. All the easy choices have been made already. And so when I hear people complaining and being concerned about it, I empathize with that. I sat there and made 375 freeze decisions in the first 2 weeks in office, and I know there's real people behind those, and I don't like doing it. But that's what I got elected to do. When you have those kind of deficits, and we're already the highest tax state in America, you know this, you know, doing business in New Jersey, it is not a positive business tax or regulatory situation. We need to improve that. The only way to do it is to lower spending so we can lower taxes and create new jobs in a state that now has higher unemployment than the national average.
Manage the expectations of New Jersey residents. I mean, how difficult will things be getting? There are reports that in terms of the municipal bond downgrades, New Jersey has the fastest pace of downgrades out there. General debt obligations, for instance, are below investment grade. I mean, how do you keep up just basic services when you're still trying to stopgap that budget and keep the state going?
Well, here's what we do. We know that we've taxed too much, we've spent too much, and we've borrowed too much. The only way to fix that is to stop spending so much. It's the only way to do it.
Other people would say raise taxes, too. Bring in higher revenue and cut spending. Are you going to have to do both?
No. We're not raising taxes. That's it. Our income tax went, when it was established in 1977, at a 2.5% top rate to under Governor Corzine, an 11% top rate on income tax.
What about property taxes?
Property taxes highest in the nation. So where are we going?
You're raising those either?
No. I mean, listen, we can't. You know, we have had, in the last 4 years under Governor Corzine, a study just came out that $70 billion in wealth left the state of New Jersey. And it left it because we are the most overtaxed people in America. So there'll be plenty of Democrats down in Trenton who are saying, just raise taxes a little bit more, Governor, just a little bit, get us through this crisis. We've done enough of that already. It is time to get tough and to say no.
What do you say to states like Virginia, Colorado, Oregon that are either reversing exemptions or passing new sales tax initiatives? That's their problem, that's their strategy?
Yeah, listen, I'm not inside in any of those states, and I know that the situation is complicated enough that I shouldn't be making decisions from hundreds of miles away. All I know is in my state, we're the most overtaxed state in America. Our citizens and our businesses are suffering. We have 10.1% unemployment when the national average is 9.7. We can't do this anymore. So I made this very clear during the campaign, Carl. I said, if you vote for me, it's for smaller government, less spending, and lower taxes. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. And I don't understand why people are surprised now that it's happening, and I'm doing it aggressively. I guess they didn't watch me as U.S. attorney for 7 years. I'm not a wallflower.
Governor, it is surprising, the emergency, fiscal emergency you described in a state where the average household incomes have got to be among the highest in the country.
Yep.
So what are the big things that went wrong to get you to this point?
Just an absolute addiction to spending. I mean, at the state, county, and municipal level, we spend more on school aid than any state in America per student. We spend more on providing services. We have more government per square mile than any state in America. We have 566 municipalities. All of them are taxing. So you just have had an abundance of taxation, and everybody always having that same attitude. Well, just raise taxes this time. Well, people are now fed up, and we're seeing an enormous flight from our state. So even if you raise tax rates, revenue continues to go down. Governor Corzine raised tax rates last year. Revenue is down by $2 billion.
Do you think people are prepared for consolidation? I mean, home rule is so deeply rooted in New Jersey. Would you consolidate those governments and get rid of some of that?
I think they're ready for shared services. And I think that's the first step towards consolidation. I think if you try to find
in terms of like the police departments, the fire,
all different aspects of services, garbage collection, public works. You'll have in individual towns in New Jersey, the town having a public works department and the Board of Education having its own separate public works department. I mean, so you have all kinds of things that are repeating themselves over and over again and cost money. And the worst thing that we have that we really need to tackle is pension and benefit reform.
Yes.
I gave an example in my speech last week, which you all understand. 49-year-old man who retires, a state worker, $124,000 he contributed to his pension and his health benefits over the course of his career. What does he get in return from the state? $3.3 million in pension payments and $500,000 in health care costs. $3.8 million on a $124,000 investment. Those numbers don't add up.
New Jersey hasn't made a contribution to the pension plan for a decade. I mean, at this point, according to the Pew Center, because there was a study released yesterday, the annual obligations that the state would have to pay at this point far exceed what the state can actually afford to pay.
Sure.
What do you tell those state workers who put in a lifetime of work to the state who may not be getting much?
Get on board and reform the system. And then you'll have a solvent system that will be able to pay you the pension that we owe you. But if you continue to take the position that the state workers unions take, which is no concessions, no deals, we're the strongest, biggest union in the state. Between the teachers and the state workers unions, if they're not willing to step up to the plate and live with the economic reality, then we could have a situation where that kind of progress continues down a slope where it heads towards insolvency. I want to stop that.
Let me turn your attention to national politics. Do you think this level of fiscal discipline is going to start coming out of Washington? And do you think maybe on the national level, taxes do play a role? The revenue generation is a legitimate way to help close this shortfall?
Oh, listen, I don't think so, because I think that people in America generally feel overtaxed now. And I think we just have to stop spending so much. I mean, people are sending that message.
Spending is a tough choice, but why taxation is not a choice? It's too tough?
No, it's a tough choice that's already been made. We haven't made spending choices. I mean, listen, people say to me, make the tough choice of raising taxes. So we've done that over and over and over again. That tough choice has been made repeatedly. No one's ever looked at the spending side of things. We have to stop spending so much money. People don't want bigger government. They simply don't.
You don't think the Bush tax cuts were in some way contributed to the fiscal problems the country's in?
The Bush tax cuts combined with an unwillingness to have spending discipline combined to do those things.
At the same time, isn't spending going to help your state? I mean, there's an estimate out there that 40% of the stimulus money has not been spent yet and will be spent in 2010. Are you relying on any or part of that money to help the state of New Jersey? So at the same time, you may be railing against spending, but on the other side, it will help New Jersey.
Listen, if they offer money to me in the situation I'm in, I'm not going to turn it down.
Right.
But Carl, I think, was asking me a philosophical question about the direction of government. Those are two different things. My responsibility as governor, if they offer me the money, you bet I'm taking it.
When you look